start this session here. I'm Casey Palmer, showing you a weird screen right now, but I know it'll make sense in a second. I have an amazing team member with me now, Madison Balboa, who will introduce and get to say hi in a second. She's our guest speaker. And then also we have Stacy Paul of our national team. And I wanted to share what I listened to this morning with you guys just real briefly. How many of you have seen Tim Story speak in your school? Maybe you saw him speak at Caper. You know who Tim Story is. Chat us yes down in the chat box. Anybody seen that? Yeah.
It's funny that you sent me that this morning because I totally listened. He was in our school on Tuesday and I wasn't able to see him. And then you sent me that this morning and I listened to it on the way to school, to work, to school. But, you know, I don't know if you could read my mind, but it was really speaking to me today.
Oh.
So thank you for that.
Of course. It made me think of you. And Stacy was really moved by him at Caper, and I knew he had just been in her school last week. I didn't know you didn't get to see him, but this is a great conversation between Tim Story and Oprah, who you may know as well. And it's just an incredible podcast. It's only about 30 minutes long. You can get it on the app if you want. But if you need a little daily dose of motivation and need to see how just connected our leadership, being WIN and the founders of our company and our brand are to the greater part of speaking greatness into the universe and speaking greatness into the life of the people who work for our company and our future professionals. This is definitely going to help show you the deeper meaning in what you do if you connect all that together. So I hope you love it. Read it. I'm sorry, not read it. I guess you can read the transcript and listen into it. It's a great podcast or video. So let's go ahead and get started in Unit 3 live session. We are going to jump into some cool things today. I'm Casey Palmer here, your corporate admissions leader, and right along with Stacy there from Paul Mitchell School, Las Vegas. And kind of before we jump into our guest artist, you guys, if you'll grab a pen and paper, we're going to do a State of the Union address real quick when it comes to placement. I hope this picture kind of makes you giggle because it makes me giggle for sure to see the faces here. But grab a pen and paper so you can kind of take some notes. We've talked a little bit about goals and what you're working towards and what our accreditors require. But in taking a look at network averages, and what I pulled was from our compliance leader, Sherry Lewis. She sent me over 44 schools, the school she works with directly, and I averaged out all of their graduation, licensure, and placement rates. And this is what I found, that the average graduation of the 44 schools that were reported was 68%. So pretty good, right? Because does anybody remember what we're required to do for graduation? If you do, chat us down in the chat box. What's the requirement? Licensure was 96% and placement was 72%. So this is where we stood in terms of the averages. Does anybody remember down in the chat? Pull your first notes out, cheat when necessary if you need to. So this is where we stand now. And as you think about your goals in your school and what that really means, I'm going to give you some ideas to maybe put some logistics, some numbers to these numbers. If I think about placement, which is what we're focusing on, and right now we're placing 72%. So roughly 72 out of every 100 future professionals or graduates or are getting jobs in the beauty industry within that time frame that's reported. Now, if we just move the needle just a little bit, and I hope that you'll write this a small, narrow focus, a small shift, because it's those small transformations every day that lead to the bigger change. If we moved it, just by 8, let's say we got that national average up to 80%, that would be 8 more jobs that were increased. I really like to think about the multiplier effect too. And if I think about 8 more people who got a job, and I think on average, the number of people that they directly take care of or the directly they influence, I'm going to say that's anywhere from 5 to 10 people. So think about like maybe spouses or parents or family members or children that their job placement, influences or transforms in their life. So if we did, 8 more people out of the average 100, and from there, let's say they influence 10 more people, that's 80 more lives that you've directly influenced by helping them with job placement. And as I think about that, I want you to kind of think about maybe a younger version of yourself. Was there someone that you looked up to that influenced you to have a career, maybe go to cosmetology school or go to college or get education? I know for me, it was my cool Aunt Dolly. She was in college at Hendrix College, and she wore and listened to Bon Jovi t-shirts and had Paul Mitchell shampoo in her college dorm shower. And I just thought she was the coolest thing ever. And that influenced me to go to college because of who she was and how I looked up to her. So as you think about placement and your future professionals, your graduates, continue to resonate and to understand the power that you have and the power they have to influence our next generation. So as you think about this, again, those 8 people, those 80 people, think about your younger self and how you were influenced, and it maybe even bring it down to 1. If you bring 1 more person into a career, they influence 1 more younger person to move into the industry or even to a better place in their life, you've really done your job well. So here's my question. How do you want to move the needle? What goal did you set out? And why is that important to you in terms of the multiplier effect when it comes to placement? And so chat us or give us a big smile if that touched your heart, if you believe that, if you understand that and are looking forward to it. I know that the next victory we have definitely does. We have Marissa, who is from Paul Mitchell School Normal. Marissa, I have you unmuted, but if you'll go ahead and unmute yourself and say hello. Say hi, Marissa.
Hello.
Hey, thank you so much. You guys, if you've been in our courses, Marissa's played with us quite a few times. She's very well spoken. And how long have you been with Paul Mitchell Schools now, Marissa?
I have been with the Paul Mitchell School in Normal for almost 3 years.
Congratulations. That's amazing. And would you tell us a little bit about your role and placement there?
Yes, so I have just recently taken over the placement role as of about 9 months ago. And so it has quickly became my baby and my passion. I absolutely love it. And while I still work in admissions and do high school visits and all of that, placement has definitely taken over and I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. So I noticed I'm going to give her a big victory and a big face, guys, that she has almost every assignment completed already. So pretty amazing that she has her assignments in the course done. Would you share with us, what did you discover or what did you learn as you were doing these assignments about placement and all the details that go into it? What did you learn?
Yes, one of my discoveries that turned into a victory was from one of the last assignments, and that was when we needed to inspect our 2017 binder. And so as I was inspecting that and going through each one, making I cross my T's and dotted my I's, I did have a discovery of 2 of my documentations for one of my place grads was that the email did not match the salon domain that she was working at, nor did it match what I had on file for her. So I quickly was able to get that changed around and was able to screenshot some social media posts for her and get that changed so that way it complied with documentation.
Man, that's awesome. So that's 2 right there. That's an incredible progress. My hope would be even just like 1 or just even awareness of 2 people. That's great. So good eye, good inspection. Most importantly, good application of what you're learning. Like I'm impressed with your brain, because I don't know about you guys, but my brain has to hear things and see it like 1,000 times before it can apply it. But your brain is brilliant that it's able to look and see. So great job on your inspection. So what else? Has anything else stood out as you were going through your assignments, or have you made any shifts in your processes of working with future professionals since you started the course?
Yes, just as you said, moving the needle. And so I'm extremely proud of where our placement is at 80%. I know that I can increase that, and I want to, and that's my goal. So just after doing my assignments from the last call, we are beginning to make a shift, and that is going to be having me even more part of their journey here. So during that core exit interview, after they meet with our FPA, they're going to be coming to my office, and it's going to be a quick conversation of just reiterating who I am, where my office is located, how they can reach out to me, giving them my email address, kind of going over what I do as the placement leader. And it's going to be also a conversation of giving them a list of salons that may be hiring right now for a receptionist or shampooing or whatever that may be, to kind of get their foot in the door already as they just started out in school, that they can get that foot in the door with that salon. And then halfway through, when they get their creative paperwork, they're also going to be getting a placement form for me that I just kind of created that will give me an idea of where they live now, where they're wanting to work when they get out, what salons have they already been researching, if any at all, what kind of salons they see themselves in, whether that is a high volume salon, a full service, just kind of getting that conversation started midway through to see where they want to be placed. And then from there on out, I will be having monthly meetings with them, short meetings, giving them their own home play to start with that resume and to email that resume. And then at the very end, the grad exit interview, that'll be where I will give them their grad pack. And in that will be the placement form. We'll go over the incentive, their grad survey, and our hopes are when I have that final conversation with them to fill out that placement form, it'll be a piece of cake because they already have that salon home waiting for them.
Man, I just took so many notes that I want to high five you through the computer right now. That's incredible. I mean, just from starting in core, like you said, like that awareness and giving them the industry, part-time jobs that they could start in. That's genius. You guys, please show her some love because these are genius ideas, genius strategies to do what you said is when they get to the end, it's not so stressful. It's not so fearful. They are ready to get out there and have that job hopefully already. So that's incredible. Can you think of any advice that you have or any other part of your plan to help you stay consistent? Like, do you plan to maybe bulk task in the CRM, or how are you going to keep this like on your calendar? Because we all know we've got a few other things like that come on our calendar every day. How are you going to keep up with this and keep it on your calendar?
Yeah, CRM tasks, setting those up for me is huge. I started doing that when I first took over. And it has been a lifesaver because if it's not on my tasks, it's easy for me to just forget about it or to not block them out on the floor to come, meet with me. And so, yeah, scheduling those in the CRM is big. And then also giving them their own home play kind of keeps me accountable and them accountable. That way they come back to me and say, hey, I have this done. And I can, sometimes I can remember and be like, oh, yeah, yep, you are supposed to do that. And that keeps me on my toes as well.
That's genius. I'm writing something for Guide 4 today that's about micro commitments, and it's the exact science of the brain of what you said is that involve the prospect in the decision making and the step taking when it comes to pre-enrollment. And why not do what you're doing and apply that to graduation and job placement? Involve that future professional in the decision making and the task completion, and they're therefore more committed to this and they own it. So, of course, we're there to support them, but involve them in the process. And that's what professional development is all about. I'm sure you can think of mentors that, told you, like, this is what you should wear to a job interview, or this is what you should say. And that's incredible that you're building that in. So great job. Cool. Okay. Anything else you think you want to share with the group? I think you could have just made our whole call with this conversation. Thank you. But anything else you want to share with the group?
No, I think that's it. But like you said from the very beginning, don't be afraid of placement. I know when it was handed over to me and put in my lap, I was like wide-eyed, like, okay, here we go. But now that I've just kind of dove into it and it's become my passion, I love it. And so I'm not afraid of it anymore.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marissa. You guys give her some emoji hearts, give her some love. You've already got some great feedback already from Ashley and Susanna. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. So great victory. I hope you guys are also having success and learning from your assignments. We are leaving comments on your assignments, so make sure go back once you've submitted, you get a grade. You're also getting comments from us too, so thank you. Thank you for sharing that great advice, and I hope you guys will seek her as a mentor. So I'm so eager to bring on Madison. Madison is our corporate compliance leader. Maybe you work with her in your school already. She's a pretty cool person. She's absolutely beautiful, and she's absolutely intelligent as well. So I can't wait for you guys to learn from her. Madison, would you mind telling them just a little bit about what your role is as the corporate compliance leader?
Yes. Hello, everybody. So my role as a corporate compliance leader is really, I overlook about 43 schools across 16 states. So a big part of that is to make sure that, each location is following the laws and regulations of their state, of their accreditation company, and of the Paul Mitchell systems that we have in place. We create and maintain your school catalogs, enrollment contracts, admission documents. We kind of do it all. And I know my schools hear from me almost every other day because everything is constantly changing between the Department of Education and NACIS. And so, we're kind of involved in a little bit of everything which in every department of your school. When we come in and do a visit, we spend a little bit of time with each department. We do everything from making sure you guys have hot and cold water in your school, your fire extinguishers are serviced yearly. We make sure your financial files, your education files are correct. We kind of just come in and look at everything. And I never like to use the word audit because I know that's sort of a scary word. We're not in there to come into your school and pick out, everything. We're not say you're doing it wrong, but, we're here to, going forward, make sure it's correct. We want to set you guys up to be successful. So we're here for you. And yeah, it's kind of a little bit of what I do day to day.
That's incredible. Just the knowledge base that you have to have, across, like you said, 16 states, and not only what Paul Mitchell, what our standards are, what our accreditors are, but as you said, constantly changing. Legislation changes with DOE, and just for you to stay on top of that is incredible. And I love the idea of kind of having this big sister that's there to keep you compliant versus something bad happening. So I don't know hardly any other franchises or small businesses that have these type of positions built in, and it's just a great security, security net, maybe a parachute. And how cool is it? Did you just go skydiving? Speaking of parachutes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was actually my second time skydiving, which is insane because I am scared to death of heights. I won't even climb a ladder. I tried to go rock climbing on a rock climbing wall. I couldn't even get 5 steps up the wall, and I made them peel me off of it. I am just deathly afraid. So, that was amazing. And if you or anyone ever have the opportunity to go and jump out of a perfectly good airplane, I say do it because it's amazing. And I would jump out of a plane 1,000 times before I would ever climb the ladder to the roof on my house and put up a Christmas light because I don't know.
How funny. Yeah, I'm just curious from a fear standpoint. What do you think gave you the courage to say okay, I won't climb this rock wall, but I will jump out of the plane? What do you think that was different about the plane jumping than other heights? What do you think it was?
I think it's because, if I'm climbing up a rock wall, I have to mentally, kind of tell my foot, okay, we're not scared. All right, bring it up one more. Okay, bring it, and I just have to tell myself, I have to talk myself into doing it. And that's when I start to overthink. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I'm scared. Well, when you're in an airplane and you're hooked up to your tandem partner, they say 1, 2, 3, and they throw you out of that plane. So you really have no choice. You don't have enough time to overthink it or talk yourself out of doing it. You're just kind of flung out of the airplane.
I'm giggling, and I think we're all giggling, and I can completely relate to that. And I wanted to kind of dig in that with you guys because I think about our future professionals and interviewing, or our future professionals and their technical interviews. And you probably got to think about the psychology, as an advisor, as a placement leader. Some of your future professionals are going to be those people that you just have to say, hey, I made you an appointment for an interview at 1 o'clock tomorrow. You're ready to go. They need to be pushed out of the plane, and they're going to jump, and they're going to do just great because that's who they are. And then some of them, need to take maybe smaller steps. They would rather, talk to themselves step by step, small practice interview here, resume here. So personality types and how we're motivated. This is a great, reference, Madison, to remember that placement can be very scary. And some of them just are ready for us to help push them out of the plane, and some of them start somewhere else. So that's really cool. Thank you for sharing. How fun. I hope you see the love you got too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that analogy, but I think we could also use it for ourselves. We tend to overthink everything on our roles, right? It has to be perfect. We have to have a plan. We have to do this. We have to do that. And sometimes you just need to jump out of the plane and just do something.
Do something.
Get the ball rolling. So I love that analogy. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. So cool. Look at all that love you got from Chris already, Madison. So already bragging about you because you are a Paul Mitchell graduate as well at San Diego. Is that right?
Yes.
Really cool. So she's a Paul Mitchell graduate now working for our compliance office. What a cool thing. So we're going to jump into some of that stuff. The annual report review. So this is something that happens that if you're new to placement, maybe you didn't experience last year. So would you just, and some of you guys, I know you're veterans, and you're like, I know this already, but some of us were not veterans. So Madison, would you tell them a little bit about what's the Palmetto Advanced Education Annual Report Review? What are we talking about here?
Okay, so we recently just started this, I believe it was January 2017, and this is something that we are now offering. It may be to the schools that use our office, I believe, but we give you the chance to participate in taking every fourth student on your cohort grid and sending us all of this documentation that is listed. We ask that you do copy and mail it to us, and we will go through it one by one. We go through every piece of paper, your entire cohort grid. It's just kind of to give you a second pair of eyes, because you guys have to look at this stuff every day, and it's constantly changing, and freedom, holy cow, dates can get swapped, and you have drop down menus. You have so many different moving parts to that software that a lot of the time you don't even realize, oh my gosh, this date was wrong. I didn't update the documentation. So our team here at the corporate office, again, your owner or director will receive an email. It's about June time from our director of compliance, Lori. She asks which schools would like to participate. And once we get the confirmation of that, she will send a list. And again, just like what is displayed on the screen here, it will tell you exactly what we want. And then she'll give you a due date, which again is normally about mid-July. Send it off to us. Just give us a couple weeks, and we will send you a full report of, if there's maybe a blank on a contract, if the placement form doesn't match up the cohort grid, or we will go through every little detail and send you that report back, just to kind of again, make you feel a little bit better, give you that second eyes, and make it a little bit easier for you to know that the documentation you're submitting to NACIS is all good to go.
Awesome. Really great. What tips do you have for the group to prepare for this?
So, my big thing is and of course I use the audit word, but, make it a habit to constantly review your placement documentation and the cohort grid. And I know a lot of you who do work on placement, or really in any department of our company, it's a revolving door. Your responsibilities just go around and around and around. So I know the placement binder is really easy to sometimes put to the side and just say, okay, I'll get to it. But the longer that you wait, this kind of plays into the second bullet point here, the longer you wait, the harder it is to track down a future professional. From the time that they leave your school, they could be married, divorced, so who knows what their last name is now. You can't find them on social media. Some just really disappear from the earth, and they don't want you to contact them. They maybe they're embarrassed that they didn't go into a part of the industry, so they're just, I don't want to tell you anything about what's going on. And again, just the longer you wait, just the harder it comes to track down that future professional and the information. Also, I say the more documentation to verify placement, the better. I know a lot of people say less is more, but not in this, instance, because I feel like we have so many different forms on the hub that set you guys up to be successful. Facebook is an amazing tool, but there's some, NACIS is tricky at times where, for an example, yes, if you're a receptionist at a salon, you can be considered placed only if you prove that you are doing job responsibilities that pertain to what you went to school for. So I know we had a school that they sent in placement documentation for a student and said that she was a receptionist at a salon. Well, NACIS came back and said, well, you're not going to get credit for that. They're not placed. Because the school, they say, well, maybe, there's receptionists out there that will do shampooing, they'll blow dry hair, they'll do certain things that does pertain. But if you don't prove that with either a job description, a statement from the student, or something that goes more into depth to prove and make it like right in NACIS's face that it's actually what they're doing, they won't count a lot of placement. So the more documentation, the better. I say whatever you can get a job description for, if it's something that's not, a barber or a cosmetologist, if it's something kind of a little bit different, more documentation, the better. And the last point on here that I also want to point out is just really take advantage of the resources. Like I said, I have a territory of 40-some schools, and so does Sherry, and so do the other people on our team. But we are all here to answer any question that any of you have. Please email us, call us, anything you need. We are here for you. Your placement binder documentation information. Sherry is amazing at placement documentation, and as soon as NACIS updates something, she updates that binder documentation form on the hub for you guys. So, that is just, she is on top of that for sure. And all of our different forms we have on the hub. And the biggest one is Jason Tiezi from NACIS, the Director of Research and Compliance. He is amazing. And this will kind of play into a later slide, that there are things that I would never believe that would actually be considered placed. And I'll go to him and he'll say, yeah, it is. So it's sometimes even us as the corporate team, and we should know it, we still have to go to him because we don't know, because everything is totally changing. So again, this guy, get that information down. He's amazing.
Man, that is some sound advice, guys. If you just have a little bit of an inkling that maybe I need more documentation, maybe this doesn't feel solid, like the more the better. What great tips there from Madison. Beautiful. What Chris said, oh my gosh, I know this life. You blink and all of a sudden it's time to review placement. Don't wait. And personal experience, I'll back it up too. Or Madison, what you were talking about is, we know a graduate gets placed, you put it on the form, you're so proud. 6 months roll around and now they're not placed any longer. So you can't prove that they were placed, right? And that's the worst feeling in the world. So the sooner the better. Hope you guys took down all that solid advice. So give us a few tips, your advice on the placement form, just from, what you've seen, reviews, what should we know about it?
So with the placement forms, just my biggest thing is when we do these reviews, they are not 100% complete. And I like to tell them, financial aid, we pound that in their brain, that do not leave any blanks. NACIS is huge. No blanks, no whiteout, no blanks. Put an NA or put a line through it. And there's a lot of times where it is just so easy to put, Madison Balbo, hairstylist at ABC Salon, and that's it. No, you have to, fill that out, and we do see that a lot. They are just not complete. I know it's a lot of information to fill out, but we really have to make it a habit to fully executed placement forms. Also the cohort grid. And again, like I said, there's a lot of moving parts. Freedom is, it takes a while to learn that system, but there are some times where things get updated. Today I'm working at ABC Salon, and a couple months down the road, you find out that I'm working at 123 Salon, and it, you updated it on my placement form, but it's not updated on my cohort grid. So when we get these annual report documentation reviews, when we do that once a year, that's kind of one of the biggest thing as well, that, hey, all of your documentation needs to match. Some people are updating the placement form and some people are updating the cohort grid, but there's a lot of moving pieces and we need to make sure that everything across the board matches. So my last one here, just again, the placement form, the binder, I said it's very easy to kind of put that off to the side, but just no, don't. That's our big thing. Just don't wait till the end. We know you guys have a lot of other things going on, but just try and keep up with it. Try and, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, just go through and review, or, anything you can do to keep up, you contact us. We'll come up with a system to help you however you need.
Awesome. Good. I see we've got a few questions coming in too. Christina, I know kind of the first question, I wrote that down, and then also maybe we'll go ahead and answer this one. Where can I find the cohort grid? And the answer is in Freedom. And I believe the steps to find it in Freedom, how to log in and what to click to get there, we've got a tutorial in this course for you, as well as the outcome assessment procedures. It's a document that you can print out. But if you want to do a one-on-one where we log in and I'll walk you through it, I can do that too, Christina. So yes, it's Freedom. Thank you, Stacy. Right there. And remember that if you are printing the cohort grid, you want to print all programs. So you're going to see some options there, Christina, that you pull all programs. So we'll dig into your three times question in just a second too. So, I wanted to pull up this placement form because maybe you guys can identify, what Madison just told us about the placement form. Is there something missing from this one? Like, what do you see? Chat us in the chat box. Are there any blanks that need to be filled in here? Let's hear from you in the chat box. I'll give you just a second to take a look. Everybody's like looking closely, right? All right, so yep, Chris said exam results, license number, perfect. So no, great job there. Date, okay, yeah, start date's missing there too, right? Yeah, so you guys got it. So taking a look at every placement form, important thing, like she said, is to make sure that all the lines are filled in. So this may be an inspection to double check for you. So some of the questions we've had in the past too, Madison, were about multiple programs. And as our schools continue to expand, more and more questions will come out of it for sure. But if a school's added multiple programs, how do they organize that in the placement binder?
Okay, so in the placement binder, like you had said, when you go to print out that cohort grid, you do print out all programs. And this is specifically from NACAS saying with this binder to sort by program name in alphabetical order behind each cohort grid. So, so you have a barbering program, you have an aesthetics, and you have cosmetology. So it would go barbering, cosmetology, and aesthetics. And then you start from the first person on the cohort grid of barbering, and it just goes alphabetical normally it's by their last name. We have some schools that will just print out, say, the full cohort grid for the cosmetology, which for some people that could be 12 pages. So they just have a copy right in the front. And then they list every student and all their documentation behind it. There's some that they will do it by page. So page 1, there's maybe 10 students listed. So all 10 students will be behind page 1. Then they go to page 2. It's kind of honestly whatever works best for you, but I have seen it both ways. So you place tabs to divide the programs, and you can put it all in one binder. So it's just all easy to just open and flip through and find any student that you need that was there at the time.
Excellent. Man, it's funny how the brain works, because I never even thought about, by program in alphabetical order. I like see it as one big picture, like I guess a grouper, but a stringer would probably see, like you said, like one page of one cohort grid in alphabetical order, like let's put all those placement forms behind it, because it's still in alphabetical order by program, right? So it's cool the way that you mentioned that, Madison. Thanks for bringing it, because the brain works in different ways, but the important part is to follow the guidelines, no matter how you do it. So cool. Absolutely. Okay, what about common errors? What are the most common errors that you see, and what's your advice?
Okay, so for the placement documentation, we have seen in-house forms that are created, and I know our documentation, it's kind of like, I have to get it notarized, or I have to do this. I promise we don't do this just to torture you. We don't do this just for fun. We follow NACAS to a T. So, I know sometimes it's easier to just say, well, I'm going to make my own form that says, what's the student's name, what's your position, and where do you work? Well, it's not, it wouldn't be accepted by NACAS. If for some reason you feel like you want to make your own in-house placement form, please send it to us so we can review and we can give you feedback. We can let you know, hey, that looks good, or, this is everything that you're missing on that. Please do not just make it up and use it. I did have a school that I went to that made their own form. It looked awesome, and they did it for almost every single student, and it would have not been accepted for anybody. So they had to go through a whole entire binder and find different ways to prove placement for all of these students. The other big thing is text messages. I know you guys have heard this a million times, but don't crop text messages. It needs to be the full message from start to finish. It needs to show, you know, if there's a number, it needs to match the contact number on the placement form to prove that you're actually talking to that student that you're placing. So that's another big thing. The CRM, I still see a lot of schools that are using that. And again, I know it's easy and I know it's convenient, but we have tried and tried to submit the CRM as placement to NACIS, and they just will not accept it at this time. So again, it's not us telling you no, it's we have tried and NACIS is just not accepting at the moment. The last one is the date stamp, the social media. So if you do Facebook or whatever you can do on a computer, and if you can print the screen, put it in a Word document and print out, or however you can do it, it will normally do a date stamp when you print it out. Again, that is not required by NACIS, but we really tell you to do it. It's just another way to cover us and another way to prove that this student is placed, at the appropriate time, and they were placed after they graduated and got licensed. So again, that's just another way. The more information, the better.
Awesome.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about social media. Hey guys, it's Stacy. I've been hanging out in the background, but this one is my favorite because it is so easy to use. So Madison, talk to us about social media and what kind of posts make sense for us to use, what posts we definitely are not allowed to use. I know there's a few things that are key in what the post has to say and all those types of things. So walk us through social media.
So again, Facebook is amazing, and that's one of the easiest forms of social media to use for placement. If you were to go onto someone's page and they were to say, hey guys, call me, I've got openings today at 1, okay, well, that we can't use as placement because you have openings where? Do you have openings at the Shake Shack, or do you have openings at, we don't know. If you have a posting that, on Facebook, you can tag a location. So say it does say ABC Salon. Hey guys, I have openings for haircuts today at 1 o'clock. Call me at the salon. The more information, the better. If it states what salon they're working at, what they have openings for, what services, you can use information like that. Again, I see a lot on Facebook that are used, especially when they tag a location. I mean, that makes it 1,000 times better. So you can use that with Instagram. You can use posts with Instagram as well. The only thing that makes it a little bit harder with Instagram is, a lot of the time you could go onto my Instagram and it says Madison Balbo, and then, oh, hey guys, I work at the salon and I have openings, and hey, that's easy. You just proved it's Madison Balbo. Or I could have an Instagram and I can say Haircut Lover 25, and I have openings to, you can have all the appropriate information you need as what salon that I'm working at, but you can't prove that I'm Haircut Lover 25. So again, we always just have to make sure on a social media that we're using the correct name, or there's some way to identify that this is the student that we are documenting.
Right, that's awesome. Does anybody have any other questions about social media proof? Because I know we use that so much, and I just want to make sure, since we do have Madison, who's the guru, that you guys get all of your questions answered. So that's great, Madison. I know I use it so much because it's easy. And actually, I learned something new today because I would have never printed out somebody posting, I have openings here, because I always assumed it had to be an actual advertisement or something. So proving that they were, charging money for it. So it's nice to know that it's just, that link from them to the salon. All right, looks like we have some questions coming in really quick. So Does Facebook Messenger count if you can see the name of the future professional?
Yes, absolutely. But again, with the Facebook Messenger, it is just like a text message, just no cropping. If you can take a screenshot of your computer screen or take a screenshot on your cell phone, as long as it shows the complete message with no cropping, you can absolutely use Facebook Messenger.
Awesome. That's the key thing. So no cropping on anything. And also don't be afraid, like when I do, you can probably add anything to this, Madison, but whenever I have email placement documentation or text message or something like that, I ask them to send me the name of their salon, their employer or their manager, what the address is, what the phone number is, all that stuff, just directly in the email. So it's, in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with that, the more information, the better. That is what helps, because instead of having 5 messages, hey, are you working? Yeah, I'm working at this line. Well, say, hey, how have you been? Where are you working? If so, can you, again, all the information, which location, even your start date, try and just ask them all the questions in one. And that's what NACAS likes to see. Yes, I'm working. I'm charging money for it. This is the address. This is the location. More information to prove, the better. So yes, definitely ask all those questions in the text, the message, however you communicate with a student.
Awesome. I love Chris's comment. Placement is kind of like dress code. If you feel like you're out of dress code, you probably are. If you feel placement isn't enough, holler at a telephone log or a survey. You guys will hear me say salon survey 50 million times because it's the best, documentation. Plus you can use it for your survey binder as well. So I have another question from Chris. Sorry.
Yeah,
Casey, is that you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just have another question from Christina. If I can't find past graduates on social media and they have been attempted 3 times, what should I do? So Christina, there's a lot of different ways that you can call them, email them, text them. On their placement form, if they're putting the reference, that's what you use that reference for. It's to kind of try to track them down, reach out to other graduates to see if they know where they are, and don't be afraid to go visit them at the salon. And do either of you guys have any other suggestions?
Love those suggestions. And Christina, I don't know if you're new to this role in placement, maybe you didn't do that exit interview with that graduate. Maybe you weren't a part of it. Maybe you didn't even know them. This is where you, kind of like Madison said earlier, tap into your resources and you bring a list to town hall. You bring a list to the team powwow in the morning and say, these are 10 graduates that I haven't been able to get in touch with that I would really love to show or place in the beauty industry. Are you connected with them on social media? Did you have a relationship with them? Can you reach out to them? And that's where you find, that learning leader who maybe was connected with that future professional who says, yeah, actually, I know this, or I don't mind to call her and see where she's working. So think about this as a team effort. And I know next week Joaquin is going to hit on this. But never give up. First of all, never give up, but start using your other resources. Like she said, vary your contact methods, but employ your team in this as well. So education team members especially are great for this. And our deadline is November 30th. So be a hustler, be someone who's strong, and don't give up until that date. Think about it. You have until then to keep reaching out to them. And I know it seems obsessive, but that 1 or 2 extra call that maybe you built in is going to get you there. And that's something we teach in admissions as a strategy that our competitors give up really easy. And when it comes to placement, when it comes to enrollment, we don't give up. So really great. So ask your team to help you. Take the list to powwow, take the list to town hall, to management, of people that you can't get in touch with or you can't prove replace, and have your team do it. So great job. So let's see. Yes, Stacy answered the CRM question. Great. We had another one too. CRM text messages do not count, right? Let's see. What about that dual license form? So Chris asked, does our 200-hour dual license program grad need a grad survey as well as a placement form? So that may be something we need to dig into, but Madison or Stacy, do you guys want to wait on that, or we want to answer now?
I would turn that to Madison.
Well, I was going to say that would be one to take offline, and I would want to verify with Sherry because she is over the California schools, and I know that there's been the dual license. So that is something that, I will have to dig in with her offline.
Perfect. Good. Because again, like Madison was saying earlier, state by state. So perfect. Good. Okay, cool. Stace, go ahead. We had some other questions, right? Love all this conversation. Good stuff.
Yeah. I know. I think we're good on the questions, but that's just a good testament, you guys. If you do have questions, don't hold on to them. Like Madison was saying before, our team, our corporate compliance team, they're there to help us. And they're our voice for NACIS. They're our go-between. So don't be afraid to send them your questions. Don't hold on to them for long. Let's talk about apps for appointment booking. I've actually not seen this one yet, so that's good. Have you seen that, Madison?
So for this, is it apps for appointment booking to prove for placement? Is that kind of what this is?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I talked to Jason Tiesi from NACIS today, and we went on, we specifically went on to styleseat.com and we looked that up. That is a great way to also use or a website for placement documentation. He said it's approved because it's literally like a Facebook for booking appointments. They have their name on there. It has a salon address. They have a little area where they can do a bio about themselves. So that is great. If you can find any graduates that use that or any other app for an appointment booking site, that does prove and that they are working at a salon, where it is, and all that stuff, just take a screenshot and you can use that as well. I have never seen that before, so I had to go on that today and look at it, and that's a great resource.
I love that. I love new resources, and that's a great one for, what do I do when I can't, find them, get creative and think. I would have never thought how many of our graduates are on there, so I love it. We have some more questions that we got earlier. So if a graduate is ineligible for employment, do I have to provide documentation?
So yes, and again, that is also listed in the placement binder documentation packet. It lists the reasons why a graduate would be ineligible, and so that would be that they are deceased, permanently disabled, deployed for military, they were under a student visa, or they have decided to continue their education at the institution under the same ownership. So if they are ineligible, then you have to provide the documentation as to why they are ineligible. So yes, you must include supporting documentation.
So then let's talk about that same ownership. Is that, so for example, like, Chris's thing, since they have a couple of different programs, so if they're currently enrolled in another program at their school, they wouldn't be eligible for placement because they're still in school under the same ownership. Is that a good example?
Yep. So say that you went to the cosmetology program, you finished it, and then you hopped right over into the instructor program at the school, then yes, you're ineligible. But again, it has to be under the same ownership.
Perfect. All right. So our next one. My owner opened a John Paul pet salon. Does this count for industry-related placement? This is the first time we've had this question, but I'm assuming it's not the first time it's been a question for someone.
Yeah. So, okay, this is where that, again, Jason comes into play, because when I saw this on the chat last week in your unit, I was like, no way. There's no way. I mean, you're going to school to cut hair. You're not going to school to groom a dog. Like, I have my license and I cannot groom my dog, And so I instantly said no. Well, Jason says yes, but
wow.
I have an email. I know, but I have an email from him, and it states, a student can count as placed as a dog groomer if the student's skills he or she is using in the position are directly related to the training she received at school, and you can prove it through documentation. Probably the best way to prove it is a statement from the student that confirms they consider their training instrumental for the position. But if you don't have special documentation, then the answer would be no. So his examples were a statement from the student saying, I was considered and hired for this position specifically because of my, hair cutting skills and my direct knowledge of the Paul Mitchell hair products, that we use throughout my schooling. It has to be them stating, why they are using, why this is considered placed. So it has to be a special, special statement from them, which, like I said, to me, I was just like, no way, there's no way. How is it so complicated to be placed as a receptionist, this, and this, but you can be placed as a dog groomer, so yes, special documentation, then yes, this can be considered placed.
And like we were saying, it's never bad to have more forms of documentation. So even if you had something from like their manager saying how their skills learned in school is helping them in this role, that would be double doing, which would be
yes,
better.
And also too, we always encourage a job description. And so if they do have a job description that does, some of these skills would stick out to NACIS to show that they are placed, that would work as well. But there may be times that you have a question like this. If someone were to have called me and asked, I would have said, no, that's not placed. But if you're like, maybe there's a way, I'm telling you, call Jason and he can tell you, if it's yes or no, because I would have never believed that. So he's a great resource.
That's great.
I had to get myself not to laugh at Chris's comments.
I know.
Hugs and kisses from little baby Jesus. Madison, you're like a hug from baby Jesus. So love it.
Chris is our comic relief for our courses, so we love that. And Casey, you have a little game for us to play, right? So I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to play a little game of acceptable, not acceptable. And listen, you got to have some speed fingers here because we're going to go through it fast because we got to wrap up in about 7 minutes. So you guys, what great info from Madison. Madison, a huge thank you. I cannot thank you enough. And I'm just so proud of how exceptionally well this went. You're a pro at this. You guys show her some love. Good stuff, for sure. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So get your fingers ready, guys. We need a Y or an N for those really competitive people. We want to see who gets the answer right first, and they can take the mental prize of being the winner of this game. So you can type yes or no for acceptable, not acceptable. And if you ever need any help with this, even details, as Madison referenced, the placement binder documentation, it's available for you to print out. I hope that you do. Let it live in your most important files. I know we say don't print everything, but this is something I would definitely print out and have available to highlight and read, guys. Okay, so let's get ready. In the chat box, is the next image acceptable? Y for yes or N for no? Business cards, acceptable or not acceptable? Nope. Heather, you win.
Ooh, Heather, that's fast.
Ooh, fast fingers right there. Okay, guys, what about this next one? Oh, it's tricky. It's tricky. Oh, it's so tricky. Okay, so the answer here is actually no. This is a graduate simply sharing a post from American Salon. So it's not her work. She's shouting out to awesome work at someone else. You're right. No date stamps is yesterday, but she's not even doing anything but sharing an industry photo. So really tricky, right? Ooh, tricked up. Oh, Chris, it is fair. Okay. All right. You guys ready for the next one? Here we go. Yes or no? Acceptable, not acceptable. Stace, you want to give them the answer on this one? Oh, look at that. Who was first?
Yeah, they got it. Heather. That girl's got some fast fingers. She probably took time. Yeah, so this one is definitely, so it's the name of the salon. It's got the information there, the phone number. Wait, do I see her name? You guys, I can't actually read this.
It's a little bit blurry. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is probably a little bit low, but go ahead. What were you going to say?
Also, I don't have my readers. So is her name on there anywhere? Because I honestly can't see it.
Yes, so she has her post. This is a post from her, and the date stamp. If we could see it, it's October 7th tomorrow, and she has a picture of her as well as like her name and things like that. So that's a good one. So really kind of tricky here too. Madison, would you say this is acceptable? This is what this is this is the salon. So appearances salon page saying what they're offering, and it has a picture of her name and business card. Does this work? Because it's a post?
Yes, that is acceptable.
Perfect. Very nice. Okay, good. All right, ready for the next one? Oh, okay, here's one here. Does this work for placement documentation? And it's a tricky one too, you guys. I'm tricking you up here. All right, so the answer here is actually an N. Molly, you got it right. It's an N. And yes, the reason why this is a little bit tricky is down there in the bottom. It's a little bit blurry to see, but there's an X on that little box at the bottom that says this survey was conducted by the phone. And if you're using it for placement documentation for the annual report, the form must be completed by the salon owner, signed and dated. So a little bit tricky. So if you did a salon survey over the phone, not acceptable, but we could, like Madison said earlier, use our resources and use something else. We could use the placement telephone log, right, to make this acceptable documentation. So we could do the log and do the survey at the same time, get something for the binder and get something for, something for the survey binder and for the documentation binder. Good. Okay. All right. Last one, I believe. Yes or no? Excellent. Who had it first? Stace, did you see who got it right first?
It was, oh shoot.
I missed it.
I lost it.
Sorry to the winner. I missed who it was first. It went so fast. Was it Marissa? Yeah, just like Madison said, not acceptable to use the CRM at this time. So, all right. Well, great job, guys. Give yourself a hand. What a really great time we've had with you. We went ahead and put something bonus in this course for you too. I know one of you, I think it was maybe Ashley, said you were getting ready for a renewal visit. And a little secret, a little trick to the trade here is I've built into Welcome to Unit 3. So you'll click in Welcome to Unit 3. And there you'll find this video. And it's going to take you to the video. You can click play right there, or you guys listen really closely. You can click the YouTube icon down in the bottom right, and it'll take you to YouTube. And you can bookmark it and have access to it forever. The same thing with all these live sessions from this course, that you could click on YouTube when you watch a video, a replay of us, and now leave them up access. It's kind of a secret. Don't be telling the secret, but it's something that I do kind of on my end so that you always have access to this course. So just click on YouTube, bookmark it, and the video is there forever. This is a really cool one from a NACIS evaluator, Whitney Shaw. She's brilliant. She's going to tell you what to expect when it comes to that NACIS renewal visit and some other NACIS stuff. So want to end with, how are your assignments? I hope they're going well. If you need help, please reach out to any of us. We're here to help you. And what's your call to action? We're not your Rick Ross boss here. You are Rick Ross boss of your life. So you know your call to action. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And thank you again, Madison and Stacy. I won't be with you next week, but Stacy and Joaquin will be. So thank you for your brilliance, everyone, and have a great day. Thank you.